The universe doesn't speak in words, it moves in silence, and when it moves for the chosen, it shakes everything that dared to stand against them. They laughed, didn't they? Thought they had you cornered, thought you were weak, alone, some soft target with no backup. They mocked your silence, mistook your stillness for surrender. But what they failed to see was this. You weren't just standing still. You were being watched, not by the world, but by the universe itself. And now, it's not just you they have to deal with. It's the full weight of something far bigger than they ever imagined. They didn't know they picked a fight with someone whose silence is louder than their screams. The kind of person whose pain doesn't break them, it activates something ancient, something deep. Now the storm is here. Not because you chased it, but because they invited it. Not realizing you are the storm. If this message is already hitting you deep, then don't forget to like and subscribe. It's more than support, it's a signal. It tells the algorithm to push this to more chosen ones out there, the ones who need to remember who they are. Because when you hear this truth, it doesn't just reach your ears, it awakens you. So tap in. Let's remind the world. You were never ordinary. You were never meant to blend in. You carry something that can't be explained. That power, it's not in your words, it's in your presence, in the way people get uncomfortable without knowing why. In the way enemies try to break you and end up breaking themselves. That's the cost of messing with someone chosen, not by man, not by titles, but by the universe itself. They're not just angry, they're haunted by your glow. Your energy sticks to their skin like smoke in a closed room. They try to shake it off, but it lingers. Their attempts to bury you only taught them you were a seed. They thought they ended you, but all they did was start something they'll never be able to stop. The truth is, they weren't fighting you. They were fighting what backs you. The force that doesn't need to show up loudly, because it doesn't have to prove anything. The universe chose you, and that alone is enough to terrify people who've spent their lives pretending power comes from money, status, or noise. But your power? It comes from alignment, from pain, from fire, from every time you got up when no one expected you to. And let's be real for a second. Stop doubting yourself. Stop acting like you're out here alone. You're not. You've been protected, guided, covered, even in the darkest moments when you felt abandoned. The universe never left. It was just quiet while building your comeback. Don't insult your journey by thinking your silence meant defeat. It meant preparation. To the chosen one listening to this, remember, your light exposes lies. Your presence wakes the sleeping, and that's why they attack. You threaten everything fake. You unsettle everything shallow. But what they don't understand is that the more they push, the more they prove who you are. So let them talk, let them laugh, let them underestimate. Because by the time they realize who they messed with, it'll already be too late. They'll be standing in the ruins of what they tried to build off your destruction, wondering why the ground beneath them keeps shaking. That's the power of being chosen. It's not loud, but it echoes. It doesn't seek revenge, but it delivers consequences. You were never just someone. You were the lesson. You are the karma. And now they're learning. So if you're still here, that's no accident. The universe brings messages like this to the ones who are ready, not the loudest, not the most liked, but the real ones. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you've ever been laughed at, doubted, or pushed aside, only to rise stronger. That wasn't weakness. That was your power loading. Stay with me, because what's coming next will hit different. Especially if you've ever had someone cross the line thinking there'd be no price to pay. And now, let's break it down, step by step. If you're truly chosen, you won't want to leave. Let's get into it. Number 1. They laughed too soon, and now the joke's on them. You were never the problem. You were the mirror. They broke it trying to destroy the reflection, and now they're bleeding from every shard. They laughed because they thought you were powerless. They rolled their eyes, dismissed your instincts, mocked your silence. They called you crazy, delusional, paranoid. And yet, everything you said came to pass. The same people who told you to sit down are now standing in the ruins of their own arrogance, trying to figure out why everything around them is crumbling. Here's the answer they'll never say out loud. They messed with someone chosen, and that's a game with no restart button. They underestimated you, not knowing that the universe was keeping the receipts. Every slight, every lie, every snide comment behind your back. They thought they were just playing games with a regular person, but what they didn't realize is, when someone is chosen, they're not walking alone. They're walking with alignment, with divine timing, with a force so precise that it doesn't scream for attention. It moves in silence and strikes with timing so perfect, it looks like fate itself stepped in. And now, the storm is here. It's poetic, really. The same mouths that once laughed at you are now whispering your name like it's a warning. The same hands that tried to throw dirt on you are now clawing at the ground, trying to dig themselves out of what they started. It's brutal, but it's just. You know what hurts most? You knew this would happen. You saw the pattern. You've always seen it. You tried to warn people. You tried to walk away, give them peace, even doubted yourself when the weight of loneliness kicked in. But now, those visions that once kept you up at night, they're no longer nightmares, they're reality. You weren't paranoid, you were tuned in. You were tapped into a frequency most people will never access. You are a signal in a world of noise. Still, let's call it out. You're tired, aren't you? Tired of being doubted. Tired of being attacked just for being you. Tired of wondering if maybe they're right, if maybe you're too much, too intense, too sensitive. And here's the brutal truth. You're not too much. They're just too small. Small-minded, small-hearted, small-souled. They've never encountered someone the universe personally put on a path. And because they can't define you, they try to diminish you. But here's the twist. They weren't fighting you. They were fighting the very system that made you. They were picking a war with alignment, thinking they were just taking shots at a person. But when you mess with someone chosen, you're not breaking a human. You're disrupting a universal order. You're slapping the blueprint of destiny and thinking it won't snap back. Now they're learning what that snap feels like. This is what chosen looks like. Misunderstood, mocked, misjudged, but never moved. Because no matter how many storms you walked through, you still carry light. Even when you doubt it, especially when you doubt it. The universe didn't choose you because you were perfect. It chose you because you were purposeful, built to last, forged in fire. And every time you started to dim, it sent a reminder. I didn't bring you this far just to let you fall. So stop doubting yourself. Seriously, stop playing small to make people comfortable. Stop trying to fit into spaces that shrink you. Stop thinking you imagined it all. You didn't. You've seen too much, felt too much, survived too much for it all to be a coincidence. That's not imagination. that's confirmation. And yes, they underestimated you. But maybe, just maybe, you've underestimated yourself too. You thought you were alone, but the truth is, you've never been alone. You've been protected in silence, covered in shadows, hidden from those who weren't meant to walk with you. The loneliness, that wasn't punishment, it was preservation. And the isolation wasn't exile, it was training. Every room that rejected you was just a reroute to the path that was already written. Every delay, a divine recalibration. They weren't keeping you out. They were keeping you aligned. And now, the same people who doubted you are out here choking on the dust of your rise. The same ones who thought you were done are watching your name echo louder than theirs ever will. That's what happens when the universe finally says, enough. Because there comes a point where the scales tip, where silence turns into movement, where energy rearranges itself to serve its purpose. And when that moment comes, when the universe finally stops holding back, it doesn't whisper, it roars, it flips tables, it clears paths, and it doesn't ask for permission. That's the moment they're in right now. So to every chosen one reading this, doubting their worth, asking why it had to be so hard, wondering when the tables turn, they already are. You're not in a breakdown. You're in a breakthrough. You're not cursed. You're called. You're not behind. You're being built. The pressure you're feeling isn't failure. It's power forming in real time. Remember, when they laughed, they were just showing you their level. And when they crossed you, they didn't just test your patience. They tested the very order that protects you. And now that order is moving. The same universe they mocked is correcting their mistake. They laughed too soon. And now they're the punchline. So rise. Not for revenge, but because you were always meant to. Shine. Not to prove a point, but because it's who you are. And walk like someone who's backed by more than just strength. You're backed by purpose. That's why you're still here. They messed with the wrong one. And now, the universe is answering on your behalf. Number 2. They tried to break you, but broke themselves instead. They don't see it, but you feel it. In your bones, in your breath, in the stillness of your presence. Something guards you, something ancient, something real. You might not have the words for it, but you've seen the signs. You've watched the ones who tried to harm you unravel in ways no one could explain. You stayed silent, wondering if it was just coincidence. But now you know better. This isn't luck. This isn't karma. This is protection. Cosmic, ruthless, precise. The co-worker who spread lies behind your back suddenly finds themselves exposed in meetings they once controlled. The friend who betrayed you for clout now walks in the shadows of regret, their fake smiles peeling off in front of the very people they tried to impress. The family member who trampled over your boundaries, acting like your pain was a joke, suddenly starts losing grip on the things they once took for granted. And through it all, you didn't lift a finger. You didn't fight back. You didn't curse them. You didn't even speak. Because you didn't have to. They weren't just messing with you. They were challenging the very shield that guards you. A field of unseen force that doesn't shout or flash. It just acts. It moves like a shadow in reverse, not behind you, but around you, shaping reality in ways you don't even realize until much later. You weren't left unprotected. You were wrapped in order. And order doesn't argue. It corrects. At first, you might have doubted it. Maybe you thought, why does this keep happening? Why do people come against me and fall apart afterward? You blamed yourself. You felt guilty for their downfall, even when you knew you did nothing to deserve the attack. That's the heart of a chosen one. You question your impact because you're too aware of it. But what you need to understand is this. Their collapse was never your fault. It was the system around you doing exactly what it was built to do: neutralize the threat before it grows. This protection is not always gentle. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like delay. Sometimes it looks like rejection, but you'll always see it in hindsight. That job you didn't get, it would have drained your soul. That relationship that collapsed, it was rooted in deception. That opportunity you missed, it wasn't a loss, it was a redirection. And the person who betrayed you, they only revealed themselves so the system could eliminate the virus before it spread deeper into your life. The universe does not play when it comes to those it has marked. It may be slow to act, but when it does, it moves like thunder rolling beneath the surface. Not loud, but undeniable. And when it protects you, it's not just sparing your life, it's preserving your purpose. You weren't sent here to be broken. You were sent here to disrupt, to awaken, to shift timelines. That kind of mission requires a firewall no human can see, no enemy can penetrate. Understand this. Being chosen doesn't mean you won't be attacked. It means every attack is already accounted for. Your enemies are playing a losing game, a game where every move they make becomes their undoing. And what's wild? They won't even know why things are falling apart until it's too late. That's how clean the universe moves. It doesn't make a scene, it makes an example. And to you, the one who still wonders if it's all real, ask yourself this. How many times have you been surrounded and still came out untouched? How many moments did you feel like it was over, only to rise up stronger than before? How many times have you watched people walk away from you, only to realize later, you were the blessing the whole time? Stop doubting your light. Stop questioning your protection. What surrounds you is not accidental, it's intentional. It's been here long before the pain, and it'll be here long after the storm. It's not loud, because it doesn't need to be. It doesn't flex, it functions. And when someone decides to cross the line with you, they're not stepping into a fight, they're stepping into a consequence. They tried to break you, but every time they reached for you with dirty hands, the system responded. Quietly, brutally, righteously. They thought they were just hurting you. What they didn't know is that your energy is part of a larger current. And that current? It corrects imbalance without needing to explain itself. So keep your head high, keep walking, let them talk, let them plot, let them fall right into the trap they set for you. You are not alone. You are protected by something they'll never understand. And no matter how many times they try, they'll always end up on the wrong side of that shield. Number 3, they dug graves for you and fell into them themselves. The universe doesn't punish, it rebalances. And when someone chooses to move against what's aligned, they don't get revenge, they get results. There's something poetic, brutal even, about how the universe handles those who move against its chosen. Not with fireworks or explosions, but with a slow, devastating precision. Like clockwork, their downfall begins the moment their intent turns rotten. You've seen it too many times to call it coincidence. People smile in your face, plant seeds of sabotage, speak your name in crooked rooms, and suddenly their plans fold in on themselves like paper in a storm. And you're still standing. The ones with good hearts glide right through your space. They're met with calm, with clarity, with alignment. But the ones who come cloaked in manipulation, envy, and double agendas, they bounce back like a curse, ricocheting off its target. Not because you retaliated, but because your energy is wired into something far greater than you. A system designed not to seek revenge, but to preserve order. A shield that doesn't ask questions, doesn't wait for you to notice danger. It moves before you do. It sees the intention beneath the smile, the lie behind the compliment, the betrayal already blooming behind their eyes. And once that intention registers, it's already too late for them. They don't fall because you wished it. They fall because the vibration they're operating on is incompatible with yours. Your frequency rejects what isn't real. You were never part of their game. Your energy simply revealed the truth of it. That's why things fall apart when people come against you. Not because you cursed them, but because they cursed themselves by standing in the way of what was aligned. Watch closely. Every time someone with malice steps into your orbit, chaos follows them, not you. Their circles collapse, their plans derail. The very lies they hoped would trap you become nooses around their own necks. This isn't magic, it's law. The universe is neutral, but it is not blind. It recognizes intention and reacts accordingly. And if someone throws shade at a tree the universe is still watering, they better be ready to deal with the drought that follows. You don't even have to respond. That's the part that gets them. They expect retaliation, they expect noise, but what they get is silence. And then slow collapse. Their efforts start misfiring. Their fake allies start turning on them. Everything they tried to build off your name starts rotting from the inside out. And still, you remain untouched. Why? Because your protection is built into the contract of who you are. You were not meant to beg for fairness. You were designed to embody alignment. You don't chase revenge because the system doesn't allow chaos to win against order. The ones who come with respect, honesty, and clean hands, they're elevated in your presence. That's the other side of this. Your energy multiplies the real, but it destroys the fake. It amplifies truth and disintegrates lies. And for the ones who still don't get it, who still underestimate what it means to move against a chosen one, here's the truth. You don't have to lift a finger. They'll do it to themselves. Every act of malice they throw your way becomes a weight around their own ankles. They sink under the very force they tried to use to pull you down. You've probably noticed it already. You didn't clap back, but they still fell. You didn't expose them, but somehow the truth still came out. You didn't beg for justice, and yet justice arrived anyway. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. The universe doesn't miss. It simply waits until the noise fades, and then it corrects. So next time someone shows their hand, next time you feel that shift, the fake smile, the odd tension, the gut feeling that says something's off, trust it. That's not paranoia. That's the system alerting you before your mind catches up. The same system that shields you from what you don't even know is coming. And when the dust settles, when you're still standing and they're lost in the chaos of their own making, you'll remember this truth. You were never outnumbered. You were out-aligned. Chosen ones don't fight back. They watch. They don't chase revenge. They carry resonance. And when you carry that, your enemies don't just lose. They destroy themselves trying to stop you. Let them fall. Let the universe handle what your hands were never meant to touch. Your rise is a recalibration, not just for you, but for everyone who dared to believe you were easy to break. Number 4. They doubted you then, but time is about to prove them dead wrong. The ones they laughed at become the ones history bows to. Time doesn't just tell the truth, it worships it. You were never lucky. You were aligned, and the difference is everything. Luck can fade, trends can die, but alignment, that's eternal, that's legacy. You didn't stumble into survival, you were preserved. Not because the road was easy, but because your purpose was too important to lose. While they laughed, while they whispered, while they tried to erase you from rooms you were destined to lead, time was already taking notes. And now, the clock is about to cash those receipts. What you carry isn't loud, it's not attention hungry, it doesn't need applause, it just works. Silently, consistently, relentlessly. You've walked through storms others wouldn't survive. You've kept moving with weight on your back they never even noticed. And all the while, people mocked what they didn't understand. They saw your struggle and thought it was proof you weren't chosen. They saw your pain and thought it was weakness. But here's the brutal irony. What they mocked was actually the mark. The mark that's always been on those the universe refuses to let fall. You are not new. This energy has walked the earth before. It was in the bones of every visionary, every seer, every misfit who saw the truth before others were ready to accept it. They mocked Tesla while he held the future in his hands. They ignored Cassandra while she spoke the truth with fire in her throat. They exiled prophets, betrayed warriors, and silenced the lightbringers, until the very things they warned about came crashing down exactly as they had seen. And then silence, then regret, then revision. That's always the pattern. First they laugh, then they panic, then they rewrite history like they supported you from the start. But don't get it twisted. You remember who doubted. You remember who pointed fingers while you bled in the dark. And most importantly, you remember who you were before the world was ready to see you. You may not have recognition now. You may feel like you're walking invisible, unheard, passed over. But time is not your enemy. Time is your witness. Time is your advocate. Time is your vindication waiting to be unwrapped. Because when you walk in alignment, delays are not denials. They are setups. Setups for moments so undeniable that even your enemies will be forced to admit they saw it coming and ignored it anyway. Your path stays clear, not because it's easy, but because it's needed. You are necessary to something much bigger than what's in front of you right now. The universe doesn't protect people without purpose. It protects assets. And you are an asset to the future. That's why the betrayal didn't break you. That's why the loss didn't take you out. That's why the silence only sharpened your voice. Let them think you've faded. Let them assume they won. Because by the time your truth arrives, it will land with a weight no one can deny, not even them. They'll see your face where they never expected to. They'll hear your name in rooms they tried to lock you out of. And they'll remember how they laughed and how you never needed to respond. Because vindication is loud enough on its own. Don't rush it. Don't force it. The power of being chosen isn't in instant gratification. It's in inevitability. What's yours will rise, not because you scream for it, but because the universe has already carved out space for it. You are not a maybe. You are a matter of time. So when it gets hard, when the world looks away, when they mock what they don't understand, remember this. You're not just walking, you're becoming. Every delay is a redirection. Every closed door is an upgrade in disguise. Every insult is fuel, and every second that passes is 1 second closer to your moment, the one no one can steal, silence, or sabotage. They thought they had the final word. but time writes the last chapter, and it's got your name all over it. Number 5. They called you crazy, then watched everything you warned about come true. The eyes that once rolled at your warnings are now wide open, watching the wreckage you predicted unfold with terrifying precision. They said you were too much, too intense, too emotional, too sensitive, but what they meant was too aware. They couldn't handle the weight of what you saw before it arrived. You weren't reacting to the world. They were just too late to feel what you already knew was coming. And now, the same people who dismissed you as paranoid, dramatic, or unstable are standing in the middle of chaos, the exact chaos you tried to warn them about. This isn't irony. This is cosmic law, served cold and without apology. You were never exaggerating. You were tuned in. You read energy like a language, picked up signals others were too numb to notice. And because your clarity exposed their comfort, they tried to shame you into silence. But the universe doesn't operate on their opinions. It operates on truth. And when someone tries to distort the truth carried by a chosen one, consequences aren't a possibility. They're a promise. They thought your boundaries were optional, thought they could gaslight your instincts into submission. But the universe doesn't play with that kind of disrespect. There's a cost for crossing lines drawn in soulfire. And that cost is always proportional to the offense. Not because you're petty, but because the system itself is precise. Like gravity, it doesn't care who believes in it. It doesn't wait for approval. It simply reacts. Always. Look around. Pay attention. That coworker who dismissed your instincts now deals with the exact fallout you predicted. That friend who called you dramatic now drowns in the drama you tried to protect them from. That relative who laughed when you set a boundary, now they're backed into corners you saw forming long before they existed. These are not accidents. This is not payback. This is the record of consequence, written in the exact language they ignored. Reality. There's no need for revenge when your truth is built on resonance. Time, energy, and alignment do the work for you. You are not the avenger. You are the witness. And your job is not to explain, not to defend, not to convince. Your job is to watch. Watch as what once mocked your sensitivity now suffers from its absence. Watch as what tried to call you weak now crumbles under the weight of everything you carried silently. Still, here's the part they'll never understand. You never wanted to be right. You weren't warning them out of ego. You were hoping to spare them. Your heart was in protection mode while theirs was stuck in denial. And now they live with the result of ignoring what you saw coming like a train in the distance. You didn't speak to be heard. You spoke because the truth was loud enough to move through you. That's not drama, that's duty. Chosen ones don't speak just to make noise. They speak to deliver warnings that ripple far beyond emotion. And when no one listens, the silence becomes its own teacher. And now, here you are, still standing, not gloating, not celebrating their downfall, just watching it all unfold, exactly as it always does. Because you've seen this before. The cycle repeats. They doubt, they mock, they cross the line, and then they suffer. And each time, your heart breaks a little less. Your energy gets a little stronger, your voice a little sharper. Because now you know, being chosen means being ahead. Not in status, not in praise, but in awareness. You're the early warning system in a world that only reacts once it's too late. And every time they ignore you, the record grows. One more example, one more lesson, one more confirmation that what you carry cannot be dismissed without consequence. So stop shrinking, stop apologizing for seeing what others pretend doesn't exist. You are not sensitive, you are accurate, you are not dramatic, you are a signal. And anyone who chooses to ignore that signal will eventually learn the truth the hard way. You are not here to convince the blind. You are here to remind the awake. Let the record show. You spoke, you warned, you stood firm. And now the universe is doing what it always does. It's writing the rest in results. Number 6. They never listen until it's their turn to feel the fire. They laughed when they saw you quiet. They stopped laughing when they realized silence was your last warning. It always starts the same way. They think you're bluffing. They see your calm as weakness, your silence as submission. They treat your grace like a green light to push boundaries, disrespect your presence, and question your worth. And then, just like clockwork, the pattern repeats itself. They cross the line. The universe responds. And suddenly, they're left standing in the ruins of a mistake they thought they could get away with. You've seen it so many times, it doesn't even shock you anymore. One by one, they fall. Not because you wished it, not because you clapped back, but because the law that governs your life doesn't tolerate imbalance. That law is older than fear and sharper than revenge. It's a built-in consequence machine designed to correct every misstep aimed your way. And while the fools rush in thinking they're smarter than the system, the wise ones, they observe, they adjust, they feel the shift and back off, not out of fear, but out of respect. And still, no matter how many examples the universe makes, another one always shows up. Another arrogant face, another inflated ego thinking they're the exception. Let them. That's part of the rhythm now. You're not even surprised anymore. You're almost bored by it. But the universe, it never tires. It teaches again and again until the lesson lands, until the smirk fades, until that exact moment their eyes change, not from pain, but from realization. You know the moment. You've seen it often. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. It's just that quick flicker in their expression when it finally hits them. They weren't dealing with someone ordinary. They weren't dragging down a pushover. They weren't sabotaging a pawn. No. They picked a fight with alignment itself, with someone who's never been alone, even in silence. Someone whose path has been cleared by forces they'll never fully understand. It's in that moment, when their ego collapses under the weight of reality, that the shift happens, that flash of recognition, the slow understanding that they misread you entirely, that you weren't a threat because you were loud. You were a threat because you didn't have to be. Let them test the limits. Let them ignore the warnings. You are done trying to save people from lessons they insist on learning the hard way. You are not here to stop the fall. You are here to witness it. That's the difference now. You no longer internalize the betrayal, the lies, the disrespect. You observe it with clarity and composure, knowing full well what comes next. The awareness always rises, not when you speak, but when reality speaks on your behalf. Because your life is proof of a deeper law in motion. People either learn from how the universe reacts to you, or they become the next example. Either way, the pattern continues. Either way, the law stands. The chosen don't demand recognition. They reveal truth through experience. Your life teaches without trying. Your boundaries are educational. Your presence shifts the temperature in every room you walk into. The moment someone decides to test you, is the moment the system around you begins to prepare their lesson. And by the time they understand what you are, it's already too late to undo the mistake. And here's what's wild. You've warned some of them. You gave them signs. You extended peace. You were more patient than they deserved. But they saw kindness and assumed weakness. They saw empathy and assumed naivety. What they didn't know was that your quiet wasn't submission. It was containment. You were holding back the storm to give them a chance to get it right. And when they didn't, the storm didn't roar, it just arrived. So let them test it, let them smirk, let them say, "I'm not worried," because you've seen this story play out too many times to doubt how it ends. And this time, you don't even flinch. You don't explain. You don't warn twice. You just step aside and let the universe do what it's always done: restore balance, protect its own, and make examples out of those who refuse to learn any other way. Awareness always rises, either through wisdom or through wreckage, and either way, they will learn who they were dealing with. Number 7. They tried to erase you, but the universe was taking notes the whole time. The world may forget, twist, and ignore, but the universe never misplaces a single detail. Every slight is a seed, and justice is the harvest. They underestimated you. Of course they did. That's how it always starts. The greatest disruptors, the most powerful souls, the ones destined to alter timelines, they never arrive with applause. They come as shadows, outsiders, misfits. They get dismissed before they get discovered, laughed at before they get listened to. They called you a nobody, just like they did all the others who came before you. But what they failed to understand, what they always fail to understand, is that the universe keeps receipts. And those receipts are loud when they arrive. The books of history are cluttered with names that were once nothing more than jokes to their generation. Moses was written off as a stuttering exile. Joan of Arc, a teenage peasant girl, burned because she dared to lead. They weren't born into thrones. They were carved by fire, by rejection, by pain, and then revealed when the timing was no longer optional. Just like you. You didn't rise through comfort. You were shaped by the furnace of being overlooked. You are not outside the tradition. You are in it, walking in the footsteps of the underestimated, the mislabeled, the prematurely judged. But what sets you apart now, what makes this era different, is how fast the universe is moving, how sharp the justice is becoming. There is no more waiting generations to be vindicated. Time itself is folding, and the reckoning is unfolding in real time. Every disrespect, logged. Every false narrative, recorded. Every time someone tried to make you small just to feel bigger, accounted for. This is not superstition. This is not fantasy. This is cosmic law. And while humans forget, distort, and rewrite reality to suit their egos, the system above them operates on truth only. It doesn't forget who you are just because others failed to see it. In fact, it uses their blindness as part of the revelation. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove yourself. You're already being positioned. You're already part of a bigger strategy. Every time they dismissed you, the system recalibrated, not to punish, but to prepare. The delays weren't denials, they were staging. The isolation wasn't exile, it was alignment. And now, the very people who tried to erase you will have front row seats to the unveiling they thought they could prevent. Let them talk. Let them rewrite history to center themselves. It won't matter. Because when it's your time, the truth arrives with evidence. Not just stories, but transformation. The kind they can't deny. The kind that makes people pause mid-sentence and realize, we were wrong. And by then, you won't even need to say, I told you so. You'll just be. They'll see the rooms you now walk into, the energy that surrounds you, the doors that once slammed shut, flying open. And what will haunt them most is knowing they had access, but chose arrogance. They looked at you and saw what they thought you were. But the universe always knew what you actually are. An assignment in motion. A force disguised as a whisper. A threat hidden behind humility. They thought they could diminish your light. But all they did was strengthen the contrast, so that when you rise, it's unmistakable. And here's the truth they'll never admit out loud. They saw it. Maybe not all of it, but they felt it. That discomfort in your presence, that quiet power they couldn't name, that shift in the room when you spoke, even when you weren't trying. They didn't mock you because they thought you were nothing. They mocked you because somewhere deep down, they knew you were everything they pretended not to notice. And now, the orchestration is reaching its crescendo. The score is building. The stage is lit. And you, who were once the background, are now the center frame. Not because you begged for the spotlight, but because the truth always wins the long game. Always. This is justice that doesn't need a courtroom. It doesn't need applause. It moves through time like a current, quiet, patient, exact. You don't need to explain who you are anymore. The results will do it for you. The life you're about to step into will speak louder than anything you could ever say. The universe is not just defending you, it's revealing you. And the ones who thought you were nothing, they're about to watch everything they ignored become undeniable. Number 8. They stole what was never meant for them, and it's tearing them apart. Energy doesn't lie. What was meant to heal through love becomes toxic when touched by theft. You weren't just protected, you were encoded. They thought they could take what made you powerful and use it for themselves. They copied your words. They mimicked your presence. They tried to imitate the way people felt around you, thinking if they dressed like you, talked like you, moved like you, they could be you. But here's what they didn't understand. Your light was never transferable. It wasn't for sale, and it damn sure wasn't theirs to steal. And now they're learning the hard way. What they tried to harvest is turning to rot in their hands. What they extracted through manipulation is poisoning them from the inside out. Not metaphorically, energetically. You've watched it happen, the slow decline, the unraveling, the confusion in their eyes as the very energy they hijacked starts working against them. And still, they don't get it. They don't get that your light isn't a brand. It's a frequency, a divine signature woven into your being. Something sacred that only thrives in authenticity. When someone with clean hands connects with you, your energy multiplies, heals, expands. But when someone comes with greed, envy, or hidden motives, that same energy turns on them like an immune response, because it was never meant for them in the first place. This isn't magic, this is design. You are not some accident of intensity. You are a blueprint. And your existence, your essence, was encoded long before you even knew your own power. Science can't explain it. Most people can't recognize it. But the energy field around you knows exactly who you are. And more importantly, it knows exactly who's not supposed to be near you. That's why some people enter your life and immediately fall apart. It's not you. It's the fact that their intentions were never aligned. Your presence doesn't just expose, it activates. And when it activates someone impure, someone parasitic, someone false, the results are catastrophic. their lies begin to eat themselves. Their masks start slipping in rooms they once controlled. They tried to feed off you, not realizing you were wired to reject anything that came from hunger, not harmony. This is the level of protection most people won't ever understand. Because it doesn't come from favoritism. It doesn't come from religion or rituals or begging to be spared. It comes from placement. From being born into this time with a role that reaches far beyond anything ordinary. You're not just here to exist. You're here to evolve the human code. Your DNA carries something ancient, something unrecognized by the systems that pretend to measure intelligence, success, and power. You've always felt it. That feeling of being different, not better, not above, but other. A sense that you were made for something that most people couldn't name if they tried. That's not ego. That's activation. And with that role comes immunity, energetic immunity. Not in the sense that you never get hurt, but in the sense that any attack made against you becomes self-inflicted. When someone tries to use you, harm you, manipulate you, they don't get to walk away clean. They absorb what they tried to throw. Because your field doesn't operate on human timelines or moral debates. It operates on resonance. And if someone tries to access your energy without alignment, the cost is built in. Automatically, unavoidably. You don't even have to defend yourself anymore. The more you evolve, the more your field does the work for you. You become immune not by avoiding harm, but by being coded to transmute it. Your pain becomes growth. Their lies become revelations. Their sabotage becomes fuel. And all the while, your path stays clear. Not because you're lucky, but because you're needed. You are essential to this moment. You, exactly as you are. The way you see through people. The way you sense shifts before they happen. The way you stand in rooms that weren't built for you and still hold your power. That's not coincidence, that's assignment. So the next time someone tries to copy you, compete with you, or covertly steal your shine, don't flinch. Don't lower your frequency to meet them. Just watch. Because what they took without permission is already turning on them. The system sees it. And so do you. You are not just protected. You are programmed for this. And anyone who tries to take what was written for your soul alone, they'll choke on it. Because some light was never meant to be stolen. It was only ever meant to be earned. Number 9. You were sent here to shift the scale, not swing the sword. You were never meant to waste your energy on vengeance. That's beneath your assignment. The universe takes care of justice with a level of precision no human hand could ever match. It clears your path, removes what's misaligned, and makes sure that what tried to harm you becomes its own undoing. That's the gift. You get to focus on building while they're busy unraveling. You are not just a person, you're a living recalibration. Your presence either aligns people or exposes their distortion. That's why they either rise with you or fall around you. You're not protected because you're above anyone. You're protected because you're part of the system itself. You are necessary, essential, coded with something the world didn't even know it needed until now. So keep walking forward, not to prove anything, but because the mission demands it. The universe keeps the record. Nothing is missed. Every lie, every betrayal, every attempt to dim your light, it's all logged. You're not here to fight. You're here to fulfill. Let the universe handle the justice. You handle the becoming. And so, after everything, after the laughter, the doubt, the betrayal, one truth remains. The chosen are always revealed in time. You were never here to be understood by the masses. You were sent to shift frequencies, to wake the sleeping, to stand unshaken in storms others can't survive. Let this be your reminder. You are not alone, and you were never mistaken. If this message hit your spirit, like and subscribe to keep this energy flowing. Drop the number 77 in the comments if you're ready to fully claim your power. And share this with another chosen one. It's time they remembered who they are.